What comes to mind for you as a harsh truth about cybersecurity, and how would you address it? Ernest, kick it off for us here.
Yeah, thanks, Nisheen. Definitely a broad question, but I'll try to summarize it into two parts. And I think I would say one, which is that security is a journey and not a destination, obviously. And as the poll that indicated very clearly that every leader in the organization should take the journey approach to constantly evolve the cybersecurity strategy. So it's definitely not departmental, but it's more enterprise. And the part I would add on, which is as tech advances, so does cybercrime. So therefore, cyber attacks are not one size fits all. So therefore, the CISO or the CIO who's building the strategy should focus on core areas of governance and control, security solutions, operation and compliance, and more importantly, like what we just talked about, which is people, culture, and awareness as well. And the second point I would add is I think I would say it's organizational risk and mitigation as well. So focus on the internal and external factors on how you as an individual are effectively turning down the risk dial for the organization. So therefore, pretend the bad guys are already in your system, network, whatever you want to call it, and then make a plan accordingly. So assess the internal and external risks. And I mean externally, which is also focusing on the vendor management landscape as well. So how is that vendor contributing to a positive or negative impact on your organization? And with the latest news that we just saw, which was posted yesterday, which is about the US cybersecurity strategy, which calls for more regulations and resources, I would say I think it will definitely have an change on cyber insurance coverage as well. So in the upcoming years, we see cyber claims which will have more denials and there'll be more stringent processes. So I would say implement the appropriate controls, but I think the insurance organizations will be challenging you to prove your appropriate controls and ensuring that you are continuing to reduce the risk and the impact for the business.
Thank you, Ernest. I asked for one truth, I got three, and I win. I appreciate that. And Negin, your turn. What's your one harsh truth?
The harsh truth that comes to mind for me is that still most end users don't really think about security in their day-to-day. And we know that security awareness is imperative, but I think it's especially important for end users to understand that cyber threats don't just come from bad places. It's not just a good or bad world any longer. For example, our Menlo Security Labs team found that I think it was over 50% of highly evasive and adaptive threats came from categorized websites. So things like HTML smuggling can lead to ransomware or data breaches. And when you have the browser become the most utilized enterprise application, but also extremely vulnerable, it's important to make that responsibility of security lie with everyone, because it's not manageable just for one team. Over the past few years, as I've worked with various organizations on their cybersecurity needs, I've picked up on two aspects that I think are necessary to get to that point. One, you really need to think about security from a business perspective. And I know this topic has gained a lot of traction over the last few years, but I don't mean just at a C-level or board perspective. We also have to think about individual contributors as well. And that means security should ideally be invisible to our end users. And that way they can get on to their day-to-day with minimal impact. We really have to think about introducing security policies or technology in a way that has the least impact to their day-to-day, and that way they don't try to find a workaround. And then two, business partnering is crucial in this journey. Your teams are already overburdened, so partnerships with leaders in different business units is key.
Sound advice there, Negin. Thank you. And Melissa, care to expand on those points?
So I think I'm going to take a different spin, but my harsh truth, I think 60 some odd % of this audience gets, and that is if everybody has to be responsible for cyber, then a cyber professional does not require a cyber degree. And I say that because hackers usually don't have a cyber degree. The reality is that breaches come from an exploitation of a gap. Bad actors exploit a gap, and they take advantage of that. Now, our app developers or architects, people who build these apps, they don't go out there and intend to build a gap. It just happens because they mixed something. And so based on this, my advice to everyone is to hire someone that really isn't a cyber professional, somebody with a cyber degree. Someone who looks at things like end-to-end business processes. Hire somebody with a teaching background for educational programs. Hire somebody with a marketing background to make cyber simple. And the comment I often get is, well, I don't have enough hiring tokens. I can't go out and hire more people. So solicited volunteers for job shadowing, engage the business and clients as testers. The world of possibilities are really endless if you use your imagination. But don't forget diversity and inclusion. So remember, if it's about exploitation of gaps, then think about situations, for example, the UK biometric passport system. When they launched it, it didn't work for women of color. And nobody really intended to exclude people, but do they really have women of color testing their solution? Think about things on a positive note about individuals who are neurodiverse, looking at data analytics. Cyber is vast of data, and so engage different people from all different areas to solve the problem.
Very meaningful and profound point there, and so many great nuggets from all of you. I love the points you all made about shared risk ownership and cybersecurity partnership with the business, and the point you made there, Melissa, about why diversity, equity, and inclusion of cyber talent selection is crucial to your business and that of your customers. Well, given what we discussed here, what would be your advice for our audience today? I would like to assemble 3 different perspectives, one of a CISO, one of a CIO, and one for the organizations. And let's try to keep our answers brief. So, Melissa, if you could offer a piece of advice for someone in the CISO role.
So my recommendation would be to demystify cyber. Make it simple for people to understand, especially if it's going to impact the entire organization. Our best defense is our people. And so we want to look at our whole organization and our customers. Make it simple for them, make it real, make it a muscle reflex in what they do, make them cyber experts so that they are eager to help out other individuals.
Excellent advice. And Ernest, for someone who's in a CIO role, what would you say to them?
I think I would say is, the proactive mode and being in the proactive mode and the strategy, I would say as it's constructed, it should be constructed around the nucleus of it's not if it happens, it's when it happens. So, base your budgets, base your strategy based on the criticality of the organization and ensure that you will get support from your leadership and the board as well. So I would say, in addition, your strategy should have immediate gaps of addressing short-term and long-term goals and execute accordingly.
Sound advice: be strategic, proactive, and allocate enough budget to support the cyber strategy. Thank you. And Negin, could you offer a piece of advice for organizations that look for help?
Yes, there really is no silver bullet. So what's important is for your own organization to define what success looks like for you. And you want to be able to define that from the start and work from there. Once you have that defined, you really want to look for a layered approach. If all of your solutions focus on detection, you don't have the right layered approach, and for many reasons. For example, it will put an unnecessary burden on your team when all the solutions start with detection. So what does that layered approach look like? You want to think about prevention, detection, and remediation to hit on all those key aspects. Additionally, lean on frameworks like Ernest to understand where you're vulnerable and how to visualize it. And this visualization part will help with those business conversations that I mentioned earlier. And lastly, cybersecurity has an amazing network, so lean on your peers. I've met some amazing people in this industry, and everyone has always been open to helping and sharing tips.
Sound advice there. Thank you so much, Melissa, Negin, and Ernest. Excellent insight about some of the harsh truths and how we can best equip ourselves to deal with them. I really appreciate your contributions. And we even have time for a quick question or two. All right. So what is the daily routine for cybersecurity specialist in your company? Melissa, would you like to take this one on?
I can. It would be the same as everybody else in the company. You wake up, you start your day, you check your emails, and then you go about your day, because cyber is everybody in the company's responsibility. And so it's no different than everybody else.
Thank you. And The second and last question we have time for is, how effective is cyber insurance as a mitigation strategy? I will direct this question to Ernest because you mentioned cyber insurance in your talk track there.
Yeah, so I would say it's definitely a mitigation tool, and I think every organization should have it because it gives you protection as well, and gives you resources that you may need if something was to happen within the organization. I would say just leading up to getting cyber insurance, I think with all the controls that you need to put in place, I think it puts an ownership on the organization to ensure that you are not just filling out a form, but you're actually being compliant to what is being requested as part of your cyber insurance policy that's going to be granted to you.